Good morning, my dear students.
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
ma'am.
Last Monday, we have discussed the introduction about the psychology, in which we have discussed the definitions and some examples, the branches of psychology, and the modern perspective of psychology. Today, I will discuss with you the remaining parts of the psychology, that is starting from the contribution to psychology. So there are many people who have contributed to the psychological development. From the beginning, from Plato and Aristotle onwards, it started. So there I have notified there are most notable and remarkable contributors to psychology. For example, the Plato and Aristotle, they started their contribution to give the definitions and the meaning and interpretation to the psychology at the very beginning times. So according to Plato and Aristotle, they said psychology is about the study of mind or soul. So they just simply gave their meaning. The psychology is the study of mind and soul. In between, there are so many contributors, but I have picked out the most important, the notable contributors. In this way, the Sigmund Freud, who was the father of psychoanalytic theory, he contributed and interpreted the psychology as the influence of unconscious mind. We'll discuss the Sigmund Freud theory as a unique chapter. He said that psychology is about unconscious mind, unconscious motive. According to John B. Watson, he said that psychology is about the behavior of human and animals. That means here the behavior indicate the observable behavior. So observable behavior. Now I have given so many examples for you earlier. What is observable behavior? If anybody, others may be able to identify our behavior, even ourselves, if we are able to identify our behavior, so that is actually observable behavior. So John B. Watson forget that mind, unconscious mind will not make impact on the human behavior. He said that only observable behavior. For example, if I have already shared some examples with you. If an individual is a chain smoker or smoking, with the chain smoker, then that is we can everyone understand he's a smoker, chain smoker. So then there might be some reasons behind his mind, but we can observe his behavior. If an employee in an organization always come late, always with unhappy mood, always reluctant to help to the organization, so then we can observe the manager or some peers may observe this type of employee he is or she is. So then that is observable behavior. See, according to Sigmund Freud, the influence of the unconscious mind. Unconscious mind in the sense, even we also cannot identify what we are doing, what is our worries, why we are so sad today like that. I will explain in forthcoming slides. So then this is how some psychologists contributed to psychology. So now there's an assignment. To explain the contributions made by the psychologist to psychology. So the submission, I have given you 1 month time. You may refer. This is actually to you to refer the psychology, because our subject, is consist of only 30 hours. We have a lot of important topic to discuss. So this contributions is a larger topic. So then we may need another 6 or 9 hours to discuss about the contributions to psychology. So what I expect from you to refer yourself and summarize, and you have to submit as an assignment. Then only you also have a brief understanding of the contribution to the psychology. So then that's why that is the purpose. I have only given about 3 important authors here. So in addition to that, with that, including these contributions, you have to refer and find out some more contributors, more psychologists who have contributed to psychology. In nutshell, you may write down. For example, if you take Sigmund Freud, so what is his theory? What did he then shared or interpreted about the psychology? And what are the important points included in his thought? Likewise, in addition to that, there are so many contributors. You may refer and read and refer and may prepare your assignment in accordance with this question. So I expect you here not to copy and paste everything. So there are plenty of sources. Even if you search from the web sources, you have plenty of elements, plenty of contents or sources you may get about this topic. So what you have to do, you have to refer and get the important one, and you have to retype. You know, so you may even copy and paste, but you have to just redefine or rewrite in accordance with the simple sentences in order to explain by you as well as the readers. So then you have to prepare this one. So maximum, I think I cannot, I do not like to limit the number of pages as much as possible. Whatever you may write it. So then a page number of pages is not a matter, but the content should include at least 10 contributors, at least 10. So maximum you may be go for the 20. So that may be the limit. So then every in your assignment that should be typewritten. We know the all standard A4 size, 12 font size, outside margin 1, then space margin 1.5. So that is the normal standard in writing the assignment. So let me summarize once again. When you write about your assignment, your page setting should be in the time New Roman format, and 12 size, font size 12, margin out for side margin 1 inch, and space margin 1.5. So with that you may write and read and refer, then you will have a brief understanding about the contribution to psychology. Right. This is your assignment. So I will, you may first finish, then next time I will give you the link to upload your assignment in the VLE. Right. Now we will move to the other important point. Schools of psychology. What is the schools of psychology? Actually, the schools is not the building that we are going to learn. So here the schools in the thoughts, approaches, or the theories. So in the management also you might study the schools of management. Schools of classical school, administrative principle, scientific management principle, like that. There are some schools of management. Likewise, in the psychology, the schools in the sense, the thoughts or approaches or the concepts of psychology. In this also, I would like to give you a brief understanding of each and every schools or thoughts of psychology, which will make you to understand the psychology further. This is also a vast subject, but here for you, for the purpose of understanding, basic understanding of psychology or learning outcome, so I will give you a brief introduction about those things. Okay, accordingly, there are some schools of psychology starting from the structuralism, functionalism, Gestalt, psychoanalysis, behaviorism, humanistic psychology. In some other sources and other books, there may be some other type of schools, but these are some important and well-known and remarkable schools of psychology. Let's discuss one by one. Right. This is about the structuralism. William Wundt. William Wundt is the father of structuralism. So very initially, the concept defined this about by William Wundt. He is known as the father of structuralism. He said that he established psychology as an independent science and defined psychology as the study of conscious experience. So here, highlight this one. He said that psychology is about, it's also actually as an independent science And also psychology is about the conscious experience, studying the conscious. So here you might come to know the two key terminology. Earlier also we discussed the unconscious. So conscious mean the opposite to unconscious. That means conscious or experience in the sense we can recall what we are feeling, what we are experiencing. So that is the conscious experience. For example, if I am happy today, I know the reasons why I'm happy today. Maybe I got a good I have scored high marks in my exam. So my father gave me a gift today. So whatever it is, if you are happy today, that is one of the experience, conscious experience. You know the reasons why I'm happy today. Sometimes if you are sad, you lost you missed someone loved today, or sometime you may miss some important valuable things. So then whatever reason is, then you may be sad today. So then you know the experience why I am sad today. So I this is the reason, for this only I am sad today. So then that is the thing, conscious experience. You can recall that, or you can understand why you are um, like this. So what you are feeling today or whenever. So that is conscious experience. Unconscious we will study later. That is the opposite to conscious. So some people, they are, if they are sad today, they might say I'm sad today, but I do not know the reasons why I'm sad today. So that is actually unconscious. Conscious in the sense, conscious experience in the sense, we know if I am happy today, I know the reasons why I'm happy. If I am sad, we know that why I'm sad today. Accordingly, we can modify our behavior, we can control our behavior. No? So that is the conscious experience according to structuralism developed by William Wundt. So then key points, the experience in the conscious mind. So according to structuralism, the experiences in the conscious mind. And the cognition, thoughts, emotions, everything will be conscious. We can recall. If you are thinking, if you are feeling, expressing our emotions or feelings, then we know the reasons. So that is the conscious experience. Again, structuralism relied on a method called introspection, systematic self-observation of one's own experience. That means own conscious experience. So then, in addition to that, he just introduced a method, that is the introspection, systematic self-observation of one's own conscious experience. That means every individual, as I have explained earlier, every individual, we can analyze ourselves. That is the introspection. We can analyze why I'm sad, why I'm sad, why I'm happy, why I'm discussed today, why I don't like this my father, why I don't like my friend, why I like him very much. So for every action, you know the self-observation, and you know your own conscious experience for that. So that is the introspection, systematic self-observation. Everyone would analyze why, how my behavior, why, how am I feeling, why I am like this, what is the reason behind this. So we can recall and get the meaning of that experience. So that is called conscious experience. Overall, structuralism about introduced about by William Wundt. So that is a study of conscious experience and motives. Okay, now I know you got the point. So very just a key point is the conscious experience. Right, we move to the next one, that is functionalism, put forwarded by William James. So then other group of people also behind them, but mainly William James introduced the functionalism. According to this concept or the schools, he said that psychology is about the environmental mind versus behavior. So environmental mind versus behavior. According to the environment, our behavior also should be changing. So then a second point also illustrated the same. Human behavior is based on the functions of changing environment. So that is about the functionalism. For example, now for example, simply let me say that now we at home we will be very happy. So in the lecture hall, everyone will be happy. But one of our relative or the loved one died or passed away, when we are going to the funeral home. So even though we are happy at home today, but when we go to the funeral home, where we will be seem to be as sad. No, we may seem as sad. So according to the changing environment, our behavior, our functions also changing. Human behavior is changing. That is about the functionalism. So if you are going to the birthday party or wherever, then at the time our happiness, our mood, our emotions, our behavior will be very happy, and explicitly we can interact with each other with a happy mood. So then according to the environmental, changing environment, our human behavior also based. So that is the concept behind the functionalism. Likewise, explore the learning, memory, problem solving, and motivation. So functionalism also tend to explore the learning, how people are learning, the values, norms, belief, etc. How they are memory, and how the people are solving their problem, and how they are motivated towards some objective and goal. So now this functionalism also addressed about those things. So mainly functionalism about the human behavior is based on the function of changing environment. So that is about the functionalism. Right. Another concept of the school, that is Gestalt. So Gestalt put forwarded by Max Wertheimer and all in his followers. There are some other followers also, but mainly I can give you his name as the one of the leading contributor to the Gestalt theory, Gestalt concept. So according to the Gestalt, mind is a thought. Mind is a thought. Thought come from perceptual phenomena. So that is the basic thing behind this Gestalt theory. Mind is the thought. The thought come from the perceptual phenomenon. So there are some other key terminology you might come across with that. The perception, the perceptual process, phenomenon. We will study this perception also as a separate chapter. So perception means how we feel, how we think about one object based on our experience. No? Or simply we perceive if somebody is joking, we say that sometimes somebody will take that joke as a serious, whereas someone may take it simply, take it easy. So then the perception differ from person to person. So likewise, Gestalt theory said that mind is a thought. The thought comes from a perceptual process, perceptual phenomenon. So every individual person is different from each other. So when they see one object or idea, then differently person to person different. So that is happening, one's behavior influencing one behavior. And also Gestalt theory is to view human being as a whole. So we had to consider the human being as a whole. For example, in a school environment, we will take in a school environment, out of 40 students, one or two students will be different behavior. Maybe reserved behavior, for example, always reserved. Do not like to interact with the peers. Do not answer any thing teacher asks, no responses. Only always keeping the face hanged, very sad. So then the teacher observed that the person. So as a teacher, according to this Gestalt theory, she or he should view that student as a whole. So for example, why that student always reserved? So he or she cannot take the decision. He is a very not maybe a poor student, or maybe not intelligent, clever student. That's why he is reserved. So do not come to that situation. The teacher should analyze the student in a different 360 degree. That means why he is reserved always. What will be the family background? She has to analyze. What is the reasons? Maybe father and husband and wife, or father and mother, maybe always confronting, always fighting at home. For example, sometimes that maybe the child is always fear about that scenes. So maybe reserve for that after affecting the mind. Maybe some other reasons. Maybe physically he is not well. No, physically he is not well. Maybe his behavior, habit of early morning, get up early morning, maybe get up late morning, and sometime morning duties he would not be able to perform the morning duties. So every day like that might be. Sometimes there may be other reasons behind him why he's always reserved or not to come forward in front of the children. So in all the way as a whole, a teacher should analyze the student. After then only she has to take some remedies to recover the student from normal, from abnormal to normal. So now that is about the Gestalt theory. We have to view human being as a whole, not a part of one, not a part of one. Right. Okay. Now we'll move to the other one. That's a very interesting person in the psychology. That is about the Sigmund psychoanalysis. Sigmund Freud developed this theory. So as a, BBA student or as a psychology student, uh, hereafter you can't say that we do not know who is Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is one of the most contributor to the psychology. He developed the psychoanalysis theory. Psychoanalysis theory. According to the psychoanalysis theory, psychology is based on the mind. Based on the mind. So you might think others also said that the psychology is based on the mind. So he's also said the based on the mind. But what mind? In the mind also there are three portions in the mind. We may study in the psychoanalytic theory later. In the mind, he observed that unconscious mind determine one behavior. Many times I have emphasized you that unconscious mind. So that means we cannot even recall what happened. So sometimes we may be affected in the childhood period that may result in adult behavior in aggressive or some unpreferable, undesirable behavior in our adolescenthood. So that is unconscious mind. So some people, some students or some children, they do not like some maybe father or mother for any reasons. They do not know, but they will say, I don't like my father at all. I don't like my mother at all. I don't like this person at all. So, but they do not try to identify why he or she is disliked. Why he or she dislike the person, but they do not the reasons that may be affected in the during a later that mean early childhood period that results in the later behavior. So that is about unconscious mind. Unconscious mind determine one behavior. That is his argument. He said that mind is like an iceberg. Mind is like an iceberg. This is a sea level. Before the sea level, there's a rock. There's a rock. Under the sea, up to the deeper root, the rock will be rooted from the beneath of the sea, maybe the bottom part of the sea. But we do not know the deep depth of that. No? We do not know the depth. Only we can observe this portion. Maybe a 5% or 10% portions only we can observe from the surface of the sea. So this is actually observable behavior. In a human behavior, human individual behavior also is compared to iceberg according to psychoanalytic theory. That's what mind is like an iceberg. Iceberg only observable part we know that. If we know our friend, we know about his behavior, his characteristic, or whatever it is, his or her characteristic, only a small portion based on the observable behavior, the way she or he behaving with us. That is observable, conscious. But according to psychoanalytic theory, the unconscious in the sense after the below the sea level, the most of the part is hidden in the sea. Likewise, in our mind also, most of the part is hidden in our mind. So that hidden mind, the activities in the hidden mind only influence one person when he or she become adult. So that is the argument developed by psychoanalytic theory. So psychoanalytic theory explains personality, mental disorders, and motivation explained in terms of unconscious determinants of the behavior. Our motivation, no, our motivation. For some time, one of you from your beach want to become a businessman, for example. I want to earn much money, more money. I want to get the social recognition. So I want to achieve. Sometimes some maybe the deeper intention to become like that. Some may have some that mean something in their mind to even to that mean affect somebody or kill somebody. So you do not know the reasons why you are, but so that is actually that motive, these disorders, the personality, everything explained in terms of the unconscious determinants of the behavior. The second one, psychoanalytic theory explained the emphasis on the role of childhood experience in shaping the adult behavior. That's what I'm always saying, that our childhood experience. You know that earlier also I have told you the simple example. In childhood, infancy up to 2 years, if the baby is denied breastfeeding, so that baby, that is the expectation. That mean, how can we say that? That's a bad experience for the child. Then that buried into the deeper mind of the child and affected by this event. And later in the adult behavior, the child will become some abnormal behavior person. So that is the childhood experience only shaping the adult behavior, right? These are about some simple tips about the psychoanalytic theory. I think here are forthcoming chapters also we might more discuss deeply about this psychoanalytic theory. Right. Other one is behaviorism. For this also, there are so many people contributed to behaviorism. Watson, Skinner are some remarkable psychologists. In addition to that, Thorndike, there are some others who have contributed to behaviorism. So then, according to their mainly the John B. Watson, he said that forget the mind. So forget the mind. He argue then criticize the psychoanalytic Sigmund Freud theory. Why? Sigmund Freud said psychology is about unconscious mind, but he said that forget the mind. Psychology is based on the observable behavior. So then for the observable behavior, we can identify the people and read them and modify their behavior. So for example, as the same example, if a person is a child chain smoker, so he cannot control the smoking, the number of times more than the expected time. So that means undesired way one person is smoking or having some substance use. So then, according to the John B. Watson said that behavior, the drunkard or the chain smoker, is based on the observable behavior. We can modify the behavior. We do not try to see what is in mind. Only if he is smoking, so then we can get the person and then through the counseling, through some steps, we can reduce the number of smoking. Then we may bring it to the person to normal. Only we know that we do not forget to worry about the mind and unconscious mind. So then a step-by-step method, we can reduce the number of smoking and we can bring the person to normal. That is actually about the behaviorism. But if for the same reason, if the Sigmund Freud read to that small chain smoker, he will observe only the not the observable behavior. Only we see the mind in the during the small child period. What he was affected with what is his bad experiences. Then through some technique, that hypnotism, there are some technique we will study later. Through the some technique, especially dream analysis or some hypnotism technique, he studied the mind of the adult person to bring the person to a deeper sleep or so to some other technique. He will study the what in the during the childhood period what happened, what is the effect. So then through that studying the mind, then he will try to remove the bad experience from that in the mind, and normally he may bring the person to recover. So these are two way of treating the persons from the behaviorism and psychoanalysis theory, right? This is about the behaviorism. Forget the mind. Psychology is based on the observable behavior. Other one is humanistic psychology. In the humanistic psychology, also there are some more contributors contributed to this development of the humanistic psychology. Carl Roger is one of the person. Carl Roger is one of the person, and under the humanistic psychology, we may discuss Maslow also. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You may study in the management in the motivation theory. But here, under this humanistic psychology, we'll study these two important concepts developed by Carl Roger and Maslow. In the Carl Rogers, he said that in the humanistic psychology, we have to consider the person-centered view. Any problem with the person-centered view. So any person-centered problem will consist of three important points. So that's why it's explained the triangular method. So these are three important things we have to observe. One is self-concept. Other one is total individual. Other one is phenomenal field. So there are key three important concepts behind that humanistic psychology according to Carl Rogers. Let me explain one by one. So self-concept in the sense, our estimation, our self-estimation about oneself, self-assessment or self-worthiness of about ourselves. As at the very beginning also I have told you in the orientation program also, we have to estimate our, we have to evaluate ourselves. So we have to esteem about ourselves. That is about the self-concept. If I'm, for example, if I'm myself, oh, yeah, I have the ability, I can write well, I can read well, I can make a presentation well. So you have to just evaluate your key about yourself. That is a self-concept. No? For example, if a student, I'll just say this simple example in a class school environment. One student, he's a very good at everything. That means a very intelligent or clever boy, and he's a very sociable worker, sociable student. He may amicably deal with others. Very in a pleasant way, he will speak to others, speak with others, deal with others. Which very obedient student, obedient to teachers and principals and others also. He will also listen what other colleagues says during their teamwork. So then he's a very pleasant student, very good and pleasant student. If the class prefect or selection of the prefect for the school, then he reluctant to come forward to take the leadership position. So he reluctant. So the teacher asked why you don't like to become the leadership role. So he evaluated himself. He basically is a short boy. Very physically, he's a very short boy. That means under average among the other students, other colleagues, maybe shorter. So then, even though his concept was, I am intelligent, I am very clever, I can read everything, I can speak very nicely, I will be obedient to everyone. So he knows that. But he evaluate himself, I am very short, so I am not suitable to this leadership position. So that is the self-concept. That is the concept everyone we also have. That's what at the very beginning also I told you, not to estimate the bad things, negatives about you. You have to invest on that. Even the negative, if you have to have a self-concept in the positive way. then only you can, you like you. No? Then only you also like you. Otherwise, you dislike you. No? That is, first we have to love. We have to love ourselves. I love myself. So then that means my self concept about me very good in a positive way. But for this particular student, his self concept was, I am not eligible, or I am not appropriate, or I am not suitable for this leadership position. But as a teacher, to help him to bring or come him forward to take this to take up this position, the teacher should introduce or should try to understand the person about the total individual. He asked the particular student and told that, no, you keep aside, you are short, you keep aside that one. But you think there are among the out of 10, for example, the 90 or 9 things, there are good things you have. You are a good orator, you are a good sociable skill, you are an intelligent boy, you can work with others very amicably. So then we have to tell the positive sides of every, that is a total individual. We have to see ourselves as a total individual, not a part of the total individual. Then also the phenomenal field. That means in the current environment, in the current phenomenological world, so we have to show some remarkable leaders or who are come forward in the leadership position, uh, even though they are very short in physically. Then we have to say that, oh, so and so, even though he is very short, but now he is the very big um, leader in this position. So we can compare in the very available in the current context. No, so we have to show that. So that is the phenomenal field. So according to the humanistic psychology, the Carl Rogers say that another theory, that is the person-centered theory. We have to center the person. Why? What is his self-concept? What is his lacking? What is the positive? So we ignore the lacking part. We have to build up with the positive what the child or the children or the student has. No, then we have to give that good understanding, or we have to explain. But sometimes we know that among us, we have talent really. Everyone have a unique talent with us, but we do not estimate our talent. We just try to search what we do not have in our skills or in our behavior. Then we worried about that, but we de-estimate. So that is the self-concept we have. But this humanistic theory says your self-concept, there are self-concept, everyone has a self-concept. But based on the self-concept, we have to give the brief and wider, not the brief, wider understanding about the total individual, total positive characteristic and talents about the individual. And also we have to show some example in the field, current field. Current, remember the persons, there are successful leaders, even the Napoleon, who is very short, become the remarkable leader. Like that, we have to show some good examples among us. So that is humanistic psychology. Right. Other one is under the humanistic psychology, another contributor, that is Maslow. Maslow is one of the persons in the motivation, in the management. You will deeply study about Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. Even all the teachers in the schools and other management positions people, everyone, they may follow the rules as a rule of thumb when they motivate their employees. So then actually this comes in the motivation theory, but however, it is based on the hierarchy of needs theory. So that means he said that humans' needs, drives, wants are becoming from the hierarchy. Hierarchy means from the basics, from the basic elements, from the basis, one by one, it is satisfied. Once one need is satisfied, another need arises. Another need arises. So that is simply the Maslow explained this theory. Right. Let me explain the hierarchy of needs theory. In the management and some other books, basically there are five. Basically, there are five, definitely. maybe psychological safety, belongingness, esteem, and self-actualization needs. But these slides, I have given you some more these more needs, but mainly some other studies, there are 5 needs. Okay, now how this needs theory is explained by Maslow, uh, with regard to the individual's needs theory. Every human being has a psychological needs. That is obvious. We know that, no? That is very obvious. What are the psychological needs? Psychological, not the psychological, sorry, physiological needs. Physical or physiological or basic needs. We may say that. Can you say what are the? Can you text chat with me? What are the physiological needs for a human being? Very quickly, 1 minute. Yeah, food, water, dress, food. Okay.
Shelter.
Shelter, fine. Yeah, right. That's a basic thing. We know that, no? Yeah, clothes. The shelter, meals or food, and clothes. No? So these are some basic needs. So once those needs are satisfied only, the human individual will think of other needs. No? Will think of other needs. If you are basically, we do not have much enough food, we do not have enough dress or clothing, and we do not enough shelter with this in a safety mode. So then we always think and read about that. Our behavior also, that means we will work to get that one. So our behavior only focus to satisfy our physiological needs. No? Then once the physiological needs completed, we will think of the safety, whether our job becoming give the safety, job safety, or whether they have a shelter we live in give the safety. So then we worried about the safety needs, whether we are safety in the shelter, whether we are safety in the job or employment, no, or whether we are safety in the job requirement. So we will think of that. So then, after the even now that need also, now we feel that that safety needs also satisfied. Then the individual will think of the belongingness and love needs. So the human being is a social animal. He needs love and affection. He needs the interaction. He live. He needs some affiliation. So then after even the safety and physiological needs is there, he will not think of the belongingness and love needs. After the physiological and safety needs finished or fulfilled, then he will start to worry about the belongingness and love needs. In other words, we can say affiliation needs. We want to affiliate with each other. We want to uh, interact with each other. So that is the belongingness needs. After the even in the society, the interaction, the love, also he or she got it, then he or she will think of esteem needs. So you will thoroughly discuss in the management theory. Just here I will give you a basic introduction. Esteem needs. So esteem needs this recognition of esteem, self-worthiness. So in here, he might or she might think of to becoming a good position in the society, get some leadership position, or get some position in some participating in the clubs, no, in the recognition clubs, in the social clubs, or in some other reputed member in the reputed clubs in the society or in the organization. So if you take in the organization, for example, if a person basically join as an ad hoc basis or temporary employee in organization, he or she will always think of the salary. That means to basically salary and overtime and everything. He needs to satisfy the basic physiological need. After even the job is very risky, he will not worry about that. He may need only the money or salary. After that, he satisfied basically with that salary and food basic needs satisfied, then only he or she will start of thinking the safety needs. That means whether we have a job with require give so safety, and whether he might give the permanent job rather than being temporary. Think of some safety mode. Then after getting the safety, job also give the permanent job and the working condition also very health and safety. Then he will think of the belonging and love needs. That means he will work with others, other department, other people. He want to no affiliate, make interaction with others. So that need will be also should be satisfied by the manager or the people who are in the top position. After that, he may think of the esteem need, mean he want to become the coordinator to a position or leader of a position. No, that's a esteem needs. Esteem needs. For sometime even among you also, you might have some esteem needs. I want to become the student union president. I want to be recognized as a club president, like that. So the people individually, they might have the esteem needs. So after the esteem needs finish, then automatically I will explain the other important thing, self-actualization need. Self-actualization need in the sense, the higher need. For example, if a employee basically join in an organization as a temporary position and get after that got permanency and estimates he is a coordinator or some other position in some section, then a self-actualization mean he would like to become to the top position of that institution. So then to the top position. So that is self-actualization. Likewise, every individual, according to the nature of the position, we also try to accomplish our basic needs. And if the every steps according to Maslow's theory, every the hierarchy of needs in the sense every steps needs satisfied, then other will think of to the other hierarchy of the needs. So that is the self-actualization needs. In between, there are some other needs, need to know and understand, aesthetic needs, transcendence needs, everything also related with this self-actualization in the sense. The transcendent also under this self-actualization, but we might be able to understand the important five is enough for you. So now these are the theory of human needs theory. So this is actually about the humanistic theory based on the inner need drives need and talent of the uh, human being. Accordingly, the individual behavior also different based on the need. So if even in the organization, the manager may use these tips to manage the employees in a good way. So if an employee always need working to trying to satisfy the physiological needs, the manager should understand the employee and give some monetary benefits as a way of salary, good salary, and overtime, like that. No, overtime, giving some bonuses. So in monetary wise, they may be motivated. So in some employees, they will join as an even as a basic position, even other to the laborer position or other baseline employees. They will be satisfied. They do not want to work with the salary, not their basic needs. They from the family wise, they are very good. Monetary wise, economic wise, they are good, but they may be needed some social recognition. They may need esteem needs. So as a manager, while we are studying here, we have to understand each and every needs of employee. So as a manager also should be a psychologist. No? A manager should know some psychological aspect of the every individual. Every individual behavior he or she should understand. Then only we may get the work done. You know that even in the management also, the latest concept of the management, you know that management is an art of getting the things done through the other people. No, getting the things done through the other people. So we have to get the things done through the other people in the sense, in each and every individual we have to psychologically analyze their behavior, their wants, their needs, their expectation. Accordingly, we have to allocate the job specification or the job description, everything, job description according to their expectation. Then only we may get the things done. So equally, we may have to equally treat the employees, but we have to treat them uniquely. We have to understand uniquely according to their needs. Then only they may work for the organization. No? So even in our family setting, if when we are studying the individual behavior, that mean aspect of the classes, the schools of psychology. As a manager also should apply all these theories to understand the every individual's behavior in order to modify and control and get the desired or preferable behavior from the employees. In a family setting also, if a mother, the mother should analyze, mother knows definitely the different needs of the children, different need of the husband. Accordingly, the mother should serve. Then only they may have a very happy life. Otherwise, not. Otherwise, impossible getting a happy life. No. So then, if what my son, younger son needs, what is the daughter needs, what is my husband needs. So then, according to their needs, understanding the needs, only the mother or the wife like to serve that. So now, likewise, even in the family setting, start from the family setup, we may apply the psychological aspects. So up to there are two things we have studied. One is the contribution to psychology. Contribution to psychology, one aspect. So then here there are certain people who have contributed to psychology. Then there's an assignment for you to complete to the stipulated time. The other part is the schools of psychology is very much important. Then you also may consider have a further reading on it. Then I have given you a simple definitions or understanding of about these each and every schools of psychology. The structuralism say about the study of conscious experience, and the functionalism based on the function of changing environment. Human behavior is based on the function of changing environment. And the Gestalt theory, according to the Gestalt theory, we have to view the human being as a whole. And the psychoanalytic theory, the unconscious mind determines one behavior. And also, according to the behaviorist theory, behaviorism, psychology is based on the observable behavior. And according to the humanistic theory, under this theory, we discuss two important persons, Carl Rogers. So he introduced the person-centered theory. Person-centered theory consists of self-concept, total individual, and phenomenological field. And the humanistic theory as Maslow's theory, the human's needs of psychology, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He said that human drives, needs, and wants are hierarchically arised, and that should be satisfied in the hierarchical order. So in that way, their needs also arises. Okay, with this one, I conclude the session today. And if you have any queries, please, we may discuss now.